Hello. So one point we wanted to share is unicorn hunting is maybe a little bit aggressive. We probably should have come up with searching for unicorns, and rather than being intrusive to the unicorns, the colleagues of the panel are much more collaborative and not really hunters. But the topic of unicorns is a topic which captivates the minds of basically everyone. Whether you have a startup, whether you're a corporate investor, whether you're a financial investor. But hey, even if you're a 9-year-old girl who starts a YouTube channel, or probably most of us at some point of the last month over dinner or drinks told our friends, hey, how come no one thought about that idea? I'm sure it can be a billion-dollar business. To try and help you, the audience, on how to come up with the next unicorn, and zooming into Southeast Asia, we have collected a group of 3 industry leaders from different backgrounds to provide their perspectives. Maybe first, quick introductions. Roderick, do you want to start?
Sure. So my name is Roderick Purwana. I run SMDV, a venture capital firm out of Indonesia, affiliated with Synergies Group.
Hi, I'm Tracey Fellows. I'm the CEO of REA Group. And we very recently acquired iProperty Group, so working with Luke and Patrick. And we're a property portal, digital property portal. We're about $7 billion market cap on the Australian Stock Exchange.
Hi, and my name is Hanno. I'm running basically the Asia operations of Rocket Internet. The group is called Asia Pacific Internet Group, where we consolidate all of our younger activities across 15 markets now, from Pakistan to Australia.
Thank you. Very different backgrounds, which I hope will give interesting perspectives to the audience. Let's get right into it. What do you typically look for in companies you evaluate? Roderick, do you want to start?
Sure. I think we're a financial investor, right? So we look at probably similar things as a lot of the other VCs look for, right? 3 main things: market potential, it has to be big enough. Product market fit has to be there. But maybe it's kind of like a cliche, I guess. But most important is the people who runs it, right? I mean, it's execution capability, right? So that's sort of the main things, I guess, that we look for in companies.
And perhaps, I mean, I would agree with all of them. I think what is especially important for us is scalability. So whatever we try to do, and I think that is what Rocket Internet is a bit famous for, is to scale something very fast, to look at very big market segments, not to focus on niches too much, and to leverage our capabilities. So to leverage experiences we have gathered somewhere else in the world, where we set up similar models or we have made similar experience. Trying to replicate that is very important for us, because then we know we can do it well, and we can also execute well here in the region.
I guess we're a little different because we are in one area, which is in the digital property vertical. And so we look for businesses that do the same thing. But importantly for us, on the ones we are engaged with versus the others, that there has to be a level of, I would say, cultural and strategic alignment, because we want them to stay involved. And so that's, for us, really important.
At what stage do you seek to invest in companies? Maybe, Hanno, you'll start with one extreme.
Yeah, so you already introduced it. It's a bit of an extreme, but you all know probably that we see each other, we see us rather as a company builder than the typical investor. We do a lot of investment activities as well through our VC fund and our group called Global Founders Capital, where we always like to work with local entrepreneurs as well. But let's say the core model is we try to be there very early by identifying an opportunity, setting up a team, and then launching the business ourselves. So it's even pre-series whatever A, because we build the company, and we believe also our biggest success factor is to try to be early and not to think about being too early is a risk. We rather see that as an opportunity. So you all know the story. I think when we started Lazada, a lot of people said, okay, come on, you're way too early to do e-commerce in some of these markets here. And I guess we've proven that they were wrong. It was good to be so early. So we are now trying to do something very similar in markets like Pakistan, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos. We're trying to build the next Lazada in a way. And also a lot of people, and we discussed it before, told us, oh, isn't that super early to be in Pakistan now, to be in Bangladesh, you don't have any infrastructure, etc. But I think no, you need to be early, and this is also where we believe we can add most value.
We're a little later. We're a little later, so I would say we're in, we look at which of the countries that, certainly there needs to be a level of internet connectivity, we think. There needs to be some level of volume of transactions that are, property transactions that are done. And so we look at companies that are more established, not a greenfield site, and we look for companies that have shown some ability to build some level of scale, and then we think because of our knowledge, particularly in the vertical, and equally we provide capital, our ability to take that to the next level and really accelerate the growth.
So I'm kind of in between these two, I guess, right? So, you come in really early, I guess, Hanno, right? For us, we come in early stage / growth, I guess. So we don't come in that early. So we've taken the risk a little bit out of that. So, when we come in, there's already a product usually. So we like to see a little bit of traction, right? We're okay kind of like, not seeing too much traction yet, but like, that's where we kind of are most comfortable coming in.
Thanks. David Gaudin in presentation just now introduced ASEAN as a 600 million population market. How important for you is businesses which are effectively regional plays versus a single market focused businesses?
Yeah, we look regional. I mean, the $200 billion by 2025 is a nice big round number. So certainly it doesn't mean that we're not going to, when we look at a business that's in the case of iProperty in multiple countries, we explore expanding beyond those countries and equally making each of the countries what are the other areas we may go into. But certainly we were interested very much in a business that was across the region, not in one single country.
And I think that is a big commonality between us because, for us it's extremely important also to think about regional. So I basically only like to see businesses and invest in businesses or build my own businesses where I have the feeling that this could be really a regional play where we can excel and replicate this in many countries. And again, old story about do what you can do well. I think what we at least believe we can do well is exactly replicating something in different countries to jump across borders very quickly. We have teams all over the place. So I mentioned at the moment it's in 15 markets we have a presence. So I can nearly overnight try out something in all of these 15 markets, at least with some early steps. And I think this is a competency that's quite important for us. Again, looking back, if you look at a company like Lazada, I still believe one of the biggest factors that made this company so successful and also made this deal with Alibaba happen was that it could act as an entry position for Alibaba, not only in a single market, but in many markets. And I think a lot of the value generation came especially out of this. But having said that, for some other business models, it's very much about winning one single market, but then still having the regional perspective. And sometimes I feel there are a couple of companies, they are too narrowly focusing only on one market. And we like to see this regional vision, at least, very early.
We also like regional. I mean, like I think the whole region. I mean, like it's great, right? But it's actually, it's multiple countries with different maturity as well. And for us, we will get there, but we do focus primarily on one market, which is Indonesia. I think that's just where we're based, where our group has network and resources. Indonesia also makes up the bulk of the population for Southeast Asia, so it makes sense for us to at least focus on Indonesia. We do look at regional businesses, but just more emphasis on Indonesia at the moment.
If I may just quickly add to that, I think what's important for us is or I think for everyone, but everyone of you guys realize that anyway. I mean, to have a regional perspective doesn't mean you have a same approach. And perhaps even in the early days, we had, to struggle with that and had to learn about that as well a little bit. Where, of course, you could come, let's say, with a European perspective and say, okay, Asia, it's a great market, but it's one market. And of course, it's not. It's very individual countries, very different development stages, very different challenges. And I think, when you think, okay, regional means you do a one-size-fit-all kind of approach for your product, for your hiring process, for your internal, processes to do delivery, to do sourcing, to do marketing, then you're also very likely you will fail. Yeah? So I think it's very important, despite having something like a regional approach and a regional agenda, still try to excel on the local level with strong local teams, with something which is always adapted to the local needs. And that's, in the end, the art of building a regional business across these markets here, because they are so different.
Which areas of synergies or value add do your institutions bring to the companies you invest in?
Sorry, I may start. So I think a lot of the value add we try to bring is, of course, to tap into this big platform and the whole experience. We try to structure our activities, very, very thoroughly in a way that we say we have a very structured launch process from, identifying the idea to bringing it into the market. It should all happen in 100 days. And in 100 days, you have a product, you have a company that's basically set up, established with dedicated functions, dedicated teams, etc. So sometimes, you may even call it, let's say, like an industrial process where you can, come from an idea to a working company very, very fast. And then, of course, it's all about knowledge sharing and sharing expertise and sharing networks, etc. So we try to run our companies very independently, but still with this sense of one big family where you can just, tap into knowledge and understand, okay, how you are doing or facing certain problems or solving certain problems in another similar company, in a similar market, but a different market, etc. So the main goal always being don't make a mistake twice and don't try to solve a problem that you have somewhere solved again. Yeah? So don't reinvent the wheel. And I think we have over time set up, I would say, rather over 200 companies now, perhaps even more, and the learning of that and the knowledge sharing is quite big. Secondly, of course, access to capital. So I think a lot of people always say, okay, Rocket and somebody like Oliver is a capital raising machine, so he's always kind of raising capital, talking to the capital markets, finding new sources of capital, which of course is a big advantage, at least in the early stage, that we don't need to go from a small seed round to a pre-series A, blah, 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 but we can, when we think about an idea, throw significant capital at it to make it work.
I think ours is a little different. I mean, we operate in one vertical, so I think it really is a level of understanding about that vertical, whether it's product structure, whether it's product design, whether it's how to attract audience, whether it's the data around that, and then equal how you commercialize the product. So I think because it's in the one area, there's a lot of subject matter expertise. REA has been at this for a long time, and so we have 1,000 people now across, 1,500 now with iProperty Group. So when we look at that, we say, there's a lot of people we can throw at a problem, and many that we've seen before in our vertical. The second is also access to capital. We're on the ASX, and so very fortunately we have strong access to capital. And then as we move into new areas, we see that as we're starting that, we can build once for international markets. So as we extend a little bit beyond perhaps some of the core areas, that we're able to take that into new markets as well.
For us, our group is pretty diverse in Indonesia. So we have anything from paper, property, bank, insurance, telco, etc. Right? A lot of times, companies or entrepreneurs come to us and they say like, how can we leverage those assets? I think what we've learned so far as well is like synergy is a very big word. but it's very hard to realize that. And what we do provide is access in a lot of ways. So, you know, it should be arm's length. We will introduce our companies in the group to the entrepreneurs and vice versa, but we never force one or the other to do, to take their product. I mean, it has to be, you know, good products, and it has to be really arm's length. I think so, yeah, for us, a lot of it is access. I mean, we do have assets and networks and resources in Indonesia, and that's what we kind of, I guess, that's our value add.
What are the common issues or challenges you guys see in companies that you evaluate and decide to pass on opportunities to invest in?
So yeah, I'll just start really quickly. I think stage is very important. I mean, like we're all here at different stages, also different type of investors, right? So most times it's too early for us, too late for us, right, and whatnot. And a lot of times also it's just the market itself. It's probably not big enough or not big enough yet for us. I guess the last part is, I'm sure they'll also say it's fit with the people, I guess, right? You invest in the people.
And for us, I mean, we have a good view of the area we're in because it's the, you know, the vertical that we operate in, but it is very much the people. So we know which countries are and areas are of interest or appeal to us in a shorter, medium, and long-term view. But importantly, when we invest in a company, sometimes we'll start small and then increase that investment over time. So it's really, do we have good cultural alignment with the people who are the management or the founders that we're investing in? And very much in the case of iProperty, Luke and Patrick, for example, are still involved. So it's really important we have good alignment. Culturally, there's a good fit. So I'd say for us, it's cultural fit as much as anything else.
Yeah, and I would say for us, I mean, one element is definitely to check whether the business model fits our strength and our capabilities. You know, in the end, I'm rather reluctant to try to start something where I cannot leverage this experience. So it's rather doing something great that you understand than rather always trying to something completely new. I think that's quite important. We are monitoring and watching competitive environment quite carefully. So to have the ability to start something with a first mover advantage where competitive environment is not yet as intense as in other segments plays a big role for our decisions to launch something, to start something or not. And then last but not least, it's always this opportunity to make it really big and to scale it, to bring it to a certain size. I think these are the key, let's say, predominant factors when we evaluate concepts and businesses.
The number of unicorns that actually have come out from Southeast Asia so far is fairly limited and definitely lags behind China, for example. What, in your view, are the drivers for the low number of unicorns, and how do you see that evolves going forward? Maybe Tracey, you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it could be that it is a region, and so when we think about companies that are operating around the region, there's a different level of complexity. And you know, it was said before that even though them being regional companies are important, certainly for us, each market is quite different. So I don't think it's that it will not happen. I think, you know, it definitely we will see more. There are some, but very small. And you know, you'll talk about some that are getting close. But I think it is the regional element versus going deep in one country, which obviously China and the US have the benefit of. I think it's the slight complexity of this traversing across the different markets because they are different in maturity, culturally, in terms of how they operate. There is a difference there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think maturity plays a big part in that as well, right? I mean, like, you know, the number of internet population in Southeast Asia, right? GDP per capita, everything as well, right? So just on the customer side, I mean, it's going to get there. It's probably not there yet in some ways, but we're starting to see promising startups that are either unicorns in some ways, like Garena, for instance, right, from Singapore. And Indonesia in particular has a few companies that, you know, they're all private, so there's no way to really certify that. But a few companies like Gojek, for instance, Tokopedia, they're probably close, if not somewhat around there, I guess, right?
I would also guess it's rather a question of time. So sometimes it's important also just to stay a bit relaxed. I think now, perhaps also after the big Lazada exit, everybody's saying, oh, where's the next unicorn, and we want to see these big exits. If you think about how fast the whole ecosystem has developed here, And where we were a couple of years ago, I think it's still a kind of amazing development. So I think we will see many more. I think it's important to have a bit of the patience that you need and to wait also for perhaps some consolidation taking place, perhaps some local champions then making the next moves to the regions to really then to reach this kind of valuations. But I think it's just a question of time.
Thank you. Before we wrap up, any questions from anyone in the audience? Okay, maybe I'll just take the liberty of asking you the last questions. In one sentence, can you describe your view of a perfect unicorn?
Well, I'm biased because I think it's iProperty, because that's why. The perfect unicorn.
And I'm super biased as well because, of course, I would like to see rocket companies to become, and more rocket companies to become unicorns. So the ideal story definitely for me would be something, where we started a company from scratch, hopefully work with a lot of participants in the ecosystem, which basically is venture capital in the series A and B, then even bigger strategic investors at a later stage, and then be able to exit it as a unicorn with a unicorn valuation. Of course, for us, then to have an exit also like a very successful IPO event at a local stock exchange, I think that would be a bit the icing of the cake. I think we're working on it. I guess everybody's working on that. And so let's see.
I don't think there is a perfect unicorn for us. I think the thing is we don't see unicorn as the end goal in some ways, right? Being a unicorn, I think like you focus on your product, you focus on your consumer, right? And you focus on growing it. And as a side product, you might end up becoming a unicorn, right? But that shouldn't be sort of the goal, I guess, to begin with. So yeah.
Thank you.